Our topic for the video message today is entitled, Can a Broken Relationship Be Repaired? Two of the most famous brothers in British royal life have at this moment a broken relationship. They have suffered trauma in their life because of the tragic death of their mother years ago, Princess Diana. But Prince William and Prince Harry now have a broken relationship. Because of the publicity given through the media, we have witnessed the sadness and the pain that they endure through this broken relationship. Sadly, they are not alone in this matter. In many of our families, the experience of a broken relationship occurs, including in our church families. The story of two of the most famous brothers in the Bible is unfolded in the book of Genesis over a number of chapters. Esau and Jacob are their names. They were twins, born to Isaac and Rebekah. From the very beginning of their lives, these two boys had a struggle even before they were born. People often say that there is a special quality of bond between twins. But in Esau and Jacob's case, there was indeed issues that caused them to have a broken relationship. They each had very different personalities. Esau was a man of the field, a skillful hunter. Jacob was a man who preferred to be at home. In fact, he was a good chef. One day, out of hunger, Esau traded his birthright, which was the blessing of being the firstborn in the family. He traded that with Jacob in return for a plate of stew, of all things. Jacob had prepared this, and Esau treated the honor of the birthright with such contempt that he gave it up for a plate of stew. However, later there was a more serious issue between them. Isaac, his father, had promised Esau his special blessing in return for a meal of wild game, which old Isaac loved. Rebekah, Esau's mother, saw this as an opportunity for Jacob to steal this blessing from his brother. It was apparent in the dynamics of family life that there was an element of favoritism in the family. Rebekah favored Jacob. Isaac favored Esau. So Rebekah, as mother, prepared a special meal for Isaac, and she helped Jacob disguise himself as his brother Esau. She had Esau's clothes put on him. She then went and got goat's hair on the back of his neck, the back of his hands, because Esau was a hairy man. And so Jacob, dressed and disguised as Esau, went into his nearly blind father with this meal that his mother had prepared, Jacob claiming to be Esau. Isaac was not convinced initially, but when he got the smell of Esau's clothes, he said, "It smells like Esau, but it sounds like Jacob." But he went ahead and he gave the blessing to Jacob. Isaac was deceived and gave Jacob the father's blessing. When Esau arrived home later with a wild game meal, he discovered he had been cheated by Jacob. Esau's anger was so kindled that he was prepared to murder his twin brother. For his safety, Rebekah sent Jacob off to her relatives in Padan Aram, a long distance away, where Jacob stayed there, worked for his uncle Laban for years, married there, had his family and children there. He was there for many years. But after all these years, God instructed Jacob to return home. But Jacob was fearful and afraid that his life would be in danger. He did not know how he would be received by Esau. The key part to Jacob's return was his encounter with God at a place called Peniel, where Jacob wrestled with God until he broke his spirit. It's a very interesting encounter between a divine person, the Lord Jesus coming as a Christophany in the person of a man to wrestle with Jacob. However, Jacob thought, because he was always a schemer in life, he thought in order to placate Esau, he would forward to him before his actual return loads of animals as a gift to Esau. However, the process to repair a broken relationship is a spiritual process and not through gifts or personal arrangements. So I want in this message to outline the process from Jacob's prayer in Genesis 32 under 5 simple headings, how a broken relationship can be repaired. And the first step that we should take is the step of prayer. In verse 9 of this great chapter, Jacob opens his heart up to God and addresses God in such a reverent manner. He addresses God in these terms: "O God, the God of my grandfather, the God of my father." How vital it is to make contact with God when we come to pray, and to acknowledge and reverence the person we're praying to. Ari Torre, the great writer, said, "Make sure that when you come to pray, that you're connected with God." The second little step from prayer is obedience. Verse 9 again. "O Lord, you told me," says Jacob, "return to your own land and to your relatives." And so for Jacob, the return journey was going to be more difficult than the outward journey. He had great fear in his heart on how he would be received. I see a similarity between Jacob and the prodigal son in Luke 15. His outward journey from home to the far country was one of light-hearted and joy, but his return journey was much more difficult when he had to humble himself and confess how unworthy he was to be accepted. The third little step in this process of healing a broken relationship, I would suggest, from prayer to obedience to humility. Verse 10. Jacob in his prayer acknowledges his unworthiness before God. He says, "I am not worthy of all the unfailing love and faithfulness you've shown me, your servant. When I left home and crossed the Jordan River, I owned nothing but a walking stick." Jacob recognized how small and how poor he was, reflecting in this prayer his humility. The fourth step that I'm suggesting in repairing a broken relationship is faith. Verse 11. Jacob says, "O Lord, please rescue me from the hand of my brother Esau. I am afraid that he is coming to attack me, along with my wife and children." Fear grips our hearts at times, and when fear comes into our experience, faith goes out. Fear must be replaced by faith. Jacob required to accept that God wanted him to return. He was obedient to fulfill that return, But he needed to believe God, that this was in God's purpose, and he needed to have faith. Someone has said once, if you trust, you do not fear. If you fear, you do not trust. The Lord Jesus continually rebuked his disciples. Why are ye fearful? Why do you not have faith? It's a great challenge in our lives as Christians to believe God and to act on his instructions and to have fear removed from our hearts. Finally, the fifth step that I'm suggesting in the process from prayer, obedience, humility, and faith is the topic and subject of brokenness. Verse 26, Jacob says, I will not let you go unless you bless me. And in this regard, Jacob had been wrestling with God all night, alone. And the passage tells us that God touched the hip and knocked that joint out of place, so that from that moment on in Jacob's life, he walked with a limp. He wasn't the same ever again. But I want to suggest that beyond the physical, there was a deeper experience in Jacob's life, and I've described it as brokenness. Jacob, through this encounter with God, had his name and character changed. He was no longer the cheat or the supplanter. He would never be the same again. God gave him the name of Israel. And from this lesson, I'm suggesting that in God dealing with us, it can be a struggle in our personal, spiritual life. Not just physically, but spiritually. The process of brokenness is well explained in a book that I read many years ago entitled The Calvary Road by Roy Hession. My friend George Verver promoted that book constantly throughout his life when he was here, because he practiced the whole truth of brokenness. It is a worthwhile read. When the dawn broke that morning over Jacob's experience with God, the broken relationship would be repaired. And it's beautifully summed up for us in Genesis 33, verse 4. What a verse this is. When the two twin brothers came together and within sight of each other, it says that Esau ran to meet him and embraced him, threw his arms around his neck, kissed him, and they both wept. I would imagine it was tears of joy. And a relationship that for years had been broken was repaired. Oh, what joy there is in heaven as well as on earth when broken relationships are repaired. Relationships in life are most precious, and we do well to guard and protect our relationships within our families and within our church. If at times they become broken, then with God's grace, let us apply this biblical process that I've outlined today to ensure that they are repaired. For there will be joy in heaven as well as on earth when that which is broken has been repaired. Thank you for listening.
In a palace and a tent, in a kingdom and a field, brothers turn to strangers, wounds that never healed. Like Harry and like William, like Jacob, Esau too. Lord, our homes bear the sorrow of what sin can do. We have felt the angry silence, doors slammed in the night, words that cut like arrows, faces turned from light. But in the pages of your story, hope begins. You restore what we have broken under mercy's skies. So we bring you all our questions, all the hurt we try to hide. Can a broken heart be mended? Can love come back to life? Yes, in your presence, broken relationships can be repaired. At the place of wrestling, we find a God who cares. Where fear is turned to faith and pride is laid down in the dust, you write a new beginning for the ones who learn to trust. So take our shattered families, every story, every scar. Heal the wounds between us, Lord, and bring us back to your heart. For at the cross of Jesus, every wall comes crashing down. In the river of your mercy, lost love can be found. Jacob ran for 20 years, haunted by his shame, carrying a stolen blessing, hiding from Esau's name. But by the river in the darkness, he fell before your face. Oh God of my fathers, help me, I can't live without your grace. I'm not worthy of your kindness, of the love that you have shown. I crossed this Jordan empty, now I stand before your throne. Fear surrounded like an army, yet faith began to rise as he wrestled till the breaking of the morning sky. So we bring you all our failures, all the wrongs we can't undo, asking, could you still restore us? Could you make us one in you? Yes, in your presence, broken relationships can be repaired. At the place of wrestling, we find a God who cares. Where fear is turned to faith and pride is laid down in the dust, you write a new beginning for the ones who learn to trust. So take our sons and daughters, every brother, every friend. Take our churches, take our families, make us one again. For when Esau ran to Jacob, every bitter tear was healed. Let that same grace run among us, let your reconciliation be revealed. We will not let you go, Lord, till your blessing has come down. Touch the strength of our self-reliance, lay our idols on the ground. Change our names and change our nature, mark us with your holy love, till we meet in tears of mercy like those brothers reconciled above. Jesus, guard our every friendship, teach our wounded hearts to bend. By your prayer, Father, forgive them, let our hatred find its end. For at the cross of Calvary, all our stories are made new. Yes, broken homes and broken hearts are mended, Lord, in